Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. And on today's episode, we have a special guest. We're going to kind of recap the Sharks offseason since the offseason is basically done with the exception of a couple RFAs that need to be signed. So going to bring back a very special guest to talk about that. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can subscribe on YouTube. Today's episode, of course, is brought to you by BetOnline. You guys know BetOnline. They've got you covered for all your betting needs. So go check them out at betonline.net where the game starts. But the Australian man has made his grand return. Kyle Demetrius is back on the podcast. If you're a new listener, Kyle was founded the podcast, handed it off to me. We did about, 500 shows together at some point. So give or take. But Kyle, you're back. You're here to rant, and we are excited.
It's not true. Also, the offseason isn't over until Mike Grier says it's over.
It's not arbitrary.
It could be over. It could be over. Who knows? Who could possibly say? I like that you said that there's only a couple RFAs left to sign, but everybody would be apoplectic if Mario Ferraro somehow was still unsigned tomorrow. Pretty funny that he's still unsigned. I don't think they have cap space. I think they have to do all sorts of weird shenanigans in order to sign him to a $4 million contract. So
yes,
they're definitely not, by the way. They're definitely backing up the truck to Mario Ferraro.
Yeah, we'll see if the last RFAs that still need to be re-signed. Chmelevski, Gadovich, Noah Gregor, and Mario Ferraro. So that's your last little bit. And
Noah Gregor's kind of important too somehow.
Yes.
What a world that we live in.
With their projected $2 million of cap space, they can send a couple people down, but it's just crossing the T's, dotting the I's right now. So first of all, Kyle, how's Australia? Are things upside down? Have you had to fight kangaroos / spiders, et cetera, et cetera?
I've actually seen zero spiders here.
The kangaroos all ate them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen tons of kangaroos, but they mostly just chill in the woods or in the bush. I guess they don't have woods here. They have the bush. Sometimes they hop across the road. Tons of roadkill, actually, when you drive to the snow. So kind of disturbing. I've yet to see a live wombat, just seen heaps of dead wombats, which is terrible. But I would like to report that the toilets here don't actually flush backwards because every single toilet just has a jet of water come out the front and it just kind of smashes into the bowl and then it all goes down. So there's no actual swirling scenario, no classic toilet shenanigans. So pretty disappointed. 8 out of 10 for Australia.
8 out of 10 for Australia. Well, that's that's good to hear. I do miss talking to you every day, but it was, I know it's Monday afternoon for you as we're recording.
No, it's Monday morning. It's only 11:30 in the morning.
Okay.
It's sunny.
It's sunny. Yes. Where do you want to start since you have the whole off season to talk about? What is the one thing that's been grinding your gears?
Grinding my gears. Nothing really. I mean, yeah. I think it's with Doug Wilson retiring. Did he retire? Or did he step away when I was still hosting?
I think he stepped away. Yes, he stepped away.
Yeah, he hadn't actually officially quit. I think the idea to go with a sort of I want to call it an organizational reset, but they really didn't because Joe Will, Tim Burke are still hanging around for some unknown reason. If you're going to fire everybody else, Roy Sommer at this point was just part of the wallpaper. If you're going to
he's now with the I don't know if he's now going to be coaching the San Diego Goals. Yeah, so
it's fine. I don't really care. They're just going to lose a lot of games. Well, he's the winningest and losingest coach. It's like Curtis Joseph is the losingest goalie, but he's 5th all time in wins. I actually really like bringing in John McCarthy as a new direction. with your AHL coach, you can get a little fun and go with John McCarthy. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I don't really know why they just didn't also move on from Tim Burke and Joe Will, who I think Tim Burke's been there since inception, right?
He's been there for a long time. Yeah.
They
built the whole stadium around him.
There's actually pieces of Tim Burke in the ice.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they have kept them on. I guess obviously they needed Joe Will for the search committee. But I'm surprised that they kind of are still there, especially as it seems that Mike Grier is leaning towards instituting all of his friends, which isn't to say that's bad on its face.
We see that everywhere in hockey. I mean, and all sports, to be honest, you see that everywhere. So
yeah, it's just funny that the two most high profile signings or like things he's done is hire like two of his friends, which is awesome. But nothing's like been super grinding my gears. I think I'm hesitant on the direction they're going, but at the same time, after 20 years of the Will side, it's just something new. So nothing's really like. I don't like what they've done, but it's not so upsetting that I'm going to be mad. They're going to be bad, but they were going to be bad regardless of what they did. They're going to be horrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think their approach this time, because like with Doug Wilson, it was kind of more of like, I wrote I have an article that's coming out about this where it kind of looked
I read it.
Huh, you already read it?
Oh, no, I thought you meant the other one where it's about stars and scrubs, right?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a start. Like Doug Wilson is, he kind of went with the stars and scrubs type approach, and where it was like, especially with the fall, like when the Sharks started to kind of fall, where it was like, we got a bunch of top end guys, and we're gonna have like Lean Bergman and Daniel. You're taken. You're taken. Yeah, so we're gonna have guys like that kind of come in, and the hope is that like our top guys can just kind of cover for the bottom guys, and Mike Grier is like, no, we're just gonna put a bunch of like NHL caliber guys in the bottom six. That I'm not saying that they're good. They're just NHL caliber players, right? Like those guys have, a lot of, a fair amount of NHL games, and the hope that maybe those guys can take the pressure off your top guys, so they're not having, Logan Couture isn't having to be the top penalty killer and drive offense and do everything else, because we've seen that just doesn't work right now over the past couple of years.
I think though, filling up your team with third and fourth lines is bad. Like if you look at Tampa, people talk about like, they added Patrick Maroon, right? That's him. They added Patrick Maroon, and they added Barclay Goodrow when they won their first cup. It's like, yeah, and Colorado had Nico Sturm on their team, but they are also doing the stars and scrubs approach. They have McKinnon, Landeskog, Kadri, Rantanen, Makar. Tampa has Stamkos, Hedman, Point, Kucherov. If you look at who did Tampa beat in the Eastern Conference Finals? The Rangers?
Yeah.
Rangers. They have Fox, they have Panarin, they have Zibanejad, they had Kreider this year.
Shesterkin, who's kind of good.
Yeah, Shesterkin. And then when people say, well, it doesn't look at Edmonton, they have McDavid and Draisaitl. So I don't think the stars and scrub approach is the wrong approach, because you need that top end talent. You need an elite 1C. You need an elite Norris caliber defenseman. You need a 2C who would be a 1C on most normal teams. You need to do that. Where they have the advantage is that they find like Ross Colton on Tampa, or they have like an Andre Palat or something like that. Where
they find
guys to fill in.
Yep.
They don't fill in with those guys, then look for the stars. They just hit on their stars. And where Edmonton has failed is they have McDavid and Draisaitl, but they've yet to find a top flight defenseman. Darnell Nurse isn't a Norris caliber defenseman. They don't have a goalie.
Put some respect on Duncan Keith.
Oh God! Who's the really really bad? Not Oscar Klefbom, the other one. Oh, Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
But like they are missing on their quote unquote scrubs. They're missing on their key pieces, but San Jose went the other way, where they're like, okay, we're going to fill up our team with all of the Luke Kunins and the Oscar Lindboms of the world and hope that they provide offense that they've never provided before in their career, and then play decent defense and go from there. So I don't think it's going to work out, because they didn't start at the top. You got to be bad to be good, basically. Like, look at all those teams. They were bad recently.
All right, before we continue, let's take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline is the largest and easiest way to check in all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for lines, odds, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball. You've got NFL starting next month, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. So head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening right now. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Gambler. I think too, just to put another point on that, is that it's not like they are taking a risk on, I don't know, like Ryan Donato had less games. They're not taking a risk on a guys who have 100 games, have parts of three. Like when Toronto traded for Michael Bunting, he was kind of old, but he had like parts of seasons, and they were taking a risk on a guy that could show something. They are trading for guys like Luke Kunin, who has 250 NHL games.
Yeah.
That's like 3.5 seasons worth of games.
Yeah. No, I would push back though on the Oscar Lindblom, who before he got sick, he looked like he was on his way to being a top 6 type of guy. And I think
for sure. That's a good.
Yeah, if he can return to form, you might have a steal there. But yeah, the other guys are kind of
for sure. But Oscar Lindblom also, like, you can't get around it. He had cancer.
Yeah,
it's hard to come back from having cancer. So like, I liked the Oscar Lindblom Oscar signing. That was definitely, I think, my favorite one. Where it kind of got sketchy. Like trading, if you don't like John Leonard, you don't like John Leonard. It's fine.
That's fine.
He was just a random prospect. These guys get eaten up and churned out all the time, and you kind of have the John Leonard's 4 trades, sort of in a way. Like I'm surprised Alex Shimolevsky hasn't been traded because he's the perfect guy to throw in. But trading a third for a guy who has 250 NHL games and his real only skill is batting in some pucks against all statistical measures, but he takes a lot of penalties. He's like.
And you could have signed a guy. You could have just signed another guy because you did. You signed.
They did too. They signed Nico Sturm. Yeah.
You traded for. You got Steven Lorentz in the Brent Burns deal. Like you got, Luke Kunin seems like a really nice dude, but like you got a bajillion of these guys just sitting on the free agency market. Or like
and they went out and got a bunch of them. That's the thing is that it's not like they got Luke Kunin, signed Oscar Lindblom as like another thing, and then they're like, okay, let's try to focus on. Obviously, Kadri's not going to come, but like a Kadri or something like that, or focus on a trade. They,
or Strome, he went to the Caps for like $4 million. It's like, well, there's 2. Ryan went to the Caps for like $4 million, and like the other one went to the Ducks for
$5 million, I think.
Yeah, like all the Stromes were available, so you got the Strome.
I think that's the thing is that acquiring a Sturm. Like Sturm's career high, I think, is like 11 goals or something like that. Like he was a nice piece in Colorado because the top line was Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen, and then their second line was like Kadri and whoever else, and he was on the third line
or whatever.
Nichushkin was there. They traded for Arturi Lekkinen. They traded for guys who were good and he could slot in and play his role. Like asking him to be a top 6 forward is just not going to go well. And none of the guys they got other than Lindblom are going to be in the top 6. And then their solution is to put Nick Bonino on the wing, which, yes, he played better on the wing.
He was on pace for 50 goals.
Yeah.
On those 8 games that he like when he went onto the wing after Bordelot got there, he was on pace for 50 goals in those 8 games.
After he started the season, what, like 21 games? 22
was like 17 games without scoring. Yeah. Regression to the mean, baby.
Well, I mean, it happens. But, yeah, I just kind of question. And then not even to mention the defense. Matt Benning seems like a solid 6th defenseman. Sure, that sounds awesome. You don't need to sign a guy for 4 years. At least the AAV was like $1 million, so it's who cares? Yeah, but yeah, for the 4 years, sure. But that's like buying a car and it falls apart and being like, well, at least one of the tires was nice. Like it doesn't. Did they not learn their lesson with Radim Šimek? I know he makes 2.3 or 2.5 or whatever, but at the same time, they did the same thing where they signed him for a while, and it's just like. Cap space is at a premium on a team where you had to trade Brent Burns. Obviously, that made sense. And you still have Couture for $8 million. You now have Hurdle for like $8 million. You have Carlson for 11.5. You still have LeBanc for, I think, 4.5.
Almost 5. Yeah. So, yeah.
5. Yeah. You got Timo with 6, who now needs a fat contract as well. Like if Ferraro wants money, like you've got a lot of these guys, and I know $1.25 million doesn't seem like a lot, but if you sign him for 2 years to get you through this like messy period and be a solid guy, that's fine. But then he's still there for 2 more years. And can you trade him? Maybe. But at the same time, it goes back to like the Luke Kunin. You don't need to give up assets to get these guys when they're free. They're just there. Like Marcus Nudavaro was free.
Yep.
And he signed for 1 year. Awesome. That's all you need.
Yeah. And especially a guy like that who can kind of help with the puck moving and stuff like that. Like that's, yeah, he's, again, and then if he has a good year, then you figure out what to do with him next year. And if he doesn't,
or just
then
trade him at the deadline. Matt Benning is unmovable at the deadline now.
Yep. So
what contender is being like, yeah, we need 3 more years of Matt Benning? Like it's just, I don't know. I really like the Marcus Nudavaro sign. I think Lindbaum and Nudavaro were, unless I'm missing another signing, but I think it was Sturm, Benning, Lawrence, obviously in the trade, Kunin in the trade. But I like the Nudavaro upside that you can maybe grab from him, a steady hand.
Yep.
They have a lot of defensemen now.
Yeah, they went from it's that left side is such a jam. I know Nudavaro is probably going to be playing on the right side because you've got Carlson who's on the right-handed, Nudavaro who can play. I asked him about that. He can play left or right, and then Merkley's right-handed, and then Matt Benning's right-handed. So yeah, I have a feeling.
Sure does seem like Ryan Merkley's not sniffing this team.
It does not. So. Before we get into, of course, the not named but named coach, David Quinn, just want to let you guys know, of course, when you're done listening to this, please go check out the Locked On NHL show. They've got you covered for everything that's going on. I'm sure they're going to be breaking down the Matthew Tkachuk trade. That was super fun Friday night, especially when you're at the ballpark and you get the notification that Matt.
I was watching local footy, like regional footy, which is AFL.
Nice.
Sick.
Nice. I was at a single A baseball game, enjoying that. And with the news came out, and just like, oh wow, this is fun. So
that's like basically the level of footy I was at. I was burning my mouth on a pie when this is happening. I was like, oh, there's too much going on in my life right now.
So yes, go check out the Locked On NHL channel as soon as you're done listening to this podcast. All right. So the not yet named, but already named David Quinn, who did not.
Hold on. Let's just put this out there.
Yes.
Somebody, maybe Curtis, I think a lot of us kind of tweeted out there that obviously they are going to hire Dave Quinn because of the Boston University New York Rangers connection, which is hilarious that it just worked out that way because obviously it was happening. But anyway, go on.
Yes, and then of course, Sheng Peng confirmed it, and good for Sheng Peng breaking that news. But I talked to John Chick of the Rangers, and he talked about his time there, and kind of came away with the the thing with young players, and I don't.
He openly said it. He's like.
Yeah,
Kako and Lafreniere got stapled to the fourth line with lots of people all the time. Strome and Buch, I listened to the episode. Strome and Buchnevich, they would make one mistake and then they would be gone for games, periods, and it was like they couldn't make a mistake. Whereas like Chris Kreider and some of the other veterans could lazily do what they want. So
why does this sound very familiar?
He hates rookies thing. Yeah, he played them, but like not all time on ice is equal.
Yeah,
like Lafreniere playing 12 minutes on the fourth line is not equal to playing 12 minutes in the top six. And John made a really good point that I think is where a lot of us were coming from, is that the Rangers were bad. He got saddled with like a bunch of guys that were under 23 or whatever the stat was. There was a lot of them.
It was like 27, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But
I mean, they were the youngest team in the league like 2 years in a row while he was
true, which means that he had to do a lot of development. There wasn't a lot of veterans to move around, but then he still wasn't giving the high key guys top six. When you're a bad team, you have the ability to give guys top. Earning it is one thing, but when the team is just bad through and through, and John made this point too, it's like if they were playoff contenders or thinking about the cup or trying to get in the playoffs and they had to like bump out some veterans, or you needed the steady hand of a veteran, that's one thing. But when the team is bottom of the basement, there's no need to be rattling confidence in the name of trying to help them down the line when you can find top 6 minutes for your 2 top picks. And I think that's where a lot of people were coming from. At the end of the day, you got to like we both want the Sharks to do well based on all available stats and histories of players and coaches and stuff like that. They don't think they're going to be good, but you got to give Dave Quinn a fair shot. It's just, I think when you look that Ryan Warsofsky, Spencer Carberry, Mike Vellucci finished second, like hiring Dave Quinn over Mike Vellucci is just hilariously NHL. The guy that was friends with your GM because they both played at Boston University and did not have a good tenure in New York gets hired over a guy who hasn't coached in the NHL, but potentially could be really good. And I know that like Claude Julien and others didn't have a good first go around, or Gerard Gallant, and then they came out well. But for every one of those, there's also a John Cooper. And there's coaches that come out of the gate and are really well. And if you don't take the chance on those guys, then you're never going to know. And it's just funny when you see three top names, Warsofsky, it's a hard one to say, Carberry and Vellucci.
Yeah.
Warsofsky. Vellucci, and especially Vellucci and Carberry. It's like, well, why did you go with the guy that got fired as soon as the regime changed and he didn't really have a great go? So you got to give him a chance. Maybe he's learned, but at the same time, when you look at his history, it's like the Rangers didn't do very well. And the funny thing is that the Sharks are going to be in a similar spot in next year or the year after, where it's like, yeah, they have 100 million veterans and he can go veteran crazy and grind it out. But like eventually you're going to have to work in Eklund, Bordeleau, Coe, Weissblatt, Merkley, Larocque.
Yeah.
Am I missing anybody? Hataka, like there Knyzhov, like there's tons of guys that are going to need to be worked in. And when you look at the Rangers, how he handled it, it's like, yeah, he was put in a hard situation, but like at the same time, he didn't navigate it very well. And then like when stuff like the Tom Wilson, John mentioned like, oh, the Tom Wilson incidents were out of his control. It's like, but he's the coach. Yeah. So like he should have a handle on that kind of stuff. And I know the Panarin thing was out of left field, and that one you can kind of give him a pass. And like people got COVID, but other teams managed it. It just seems you can give him a pass, but at the same time, it's not an exciting hire for a time in the Sharks history where it should be exciting because the organization is resetting away from the Wilsons and moving into a new future. And Grier, obviously, I think has had a mixed bag offseason, but it's still a different direction. And he could have went and brought in a Vellucci and gone in a different direction, but he didn't. He went with seemingly his friend or a person that he's worked with before over a more risky hire. And it's just, I think Sharks fans wanted to be excited about where the team was going and what they could do. Because if you bring in a Vellucci or Warsofsky and something like that, they might have different ideas on how to use the veterans. They might have different ideas on how to mix up things. They might make sure that Ryan Merkley is playing every night and something like that. You never know. So it just was frustrating to see the NHL once again go with a retread that wasn't successful per se. So, but at the end of the day, you got to give him a shot. Like, I mean, he could come out and burn the house down to be the greatest coach San Jose's ever seen. You don't know, but it's just, it looks bad in the face of what the options were.
Yeah. And, especially like, Vellucci is going from Pittsburgh. It's like, that's been a winning organization for 15 years. Like he's learned, you would think that he's learned stuff. And I mean, I know having Sidney Crosby on your team kind of helps a little bit, but like still there's that winning culture. And, I was literally all set to have Sarah Avampato on to talk about Warsofsky before they named David Quinn. Cause the Chicago Wolves literally just won the Calder Cup and, have been a really good team for a long time. They know how to develop players. And that's why Rocky Thompson got hired by the Sharks, a couple of years ago, because that system that they run and the way they develop players is really good. And that's what we as Sharks fans were hoping that they would be able to, especially with that 2020 draft class. We keep harping on this 2020 draft class, but for good reason. There's, probably going to be 4 or 5 NHL guys coming out of that class. And you're hoping that you're putting them in the best position to succeed. And I think, as you touched on earlier, I think John McCarthy's going to do a really good job with this AHL team.
I'm less concerned for guys going down. Like if Bordeleau starts in the AHL, I'm less concerned because I think McCarthy is going to do well, and he seems liked by players, and he's young.
Mm-hmm. He's my age.
Yeah. Well, that's young for a coach. Yeah. But I like the McCarthy hire, and I like what they did there, and I like your conversation with him and what he said.
Yeah. And I like they hired the 2 WHL guy, assistant coaches to come in and be his assistant coach. So, again, that's a whole development piece. These WHL guys.
Ecosystem. He has coaches that deal with guys like Bortles 20, 21, 20,
Yeah.
Coe's 20. Like these guys are young. So Brandon Coe coming out of the OHL last year and coming into and starting in the AHL, the coaches are going to know how to deal with him because they just dealt with guys like that. Tristan Robbins literally is coming from the WHL. Ozzy Weisspat's literally coming to the WHL. So I really like what he did there. And so I'm less hesitant if guys go down. I would be pretty bummed if Eklund went down. And I think the whole World Juniors thing is kind of, I know he wants to be there, but I'm sure he would have loved to play in the World Juniors if the Sharks could just been like, yeah, don't worry, we'll take care of you, especially after last year. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think he should stay up. But if the rest of them go down, it's not really the end of the world now that McCarthy's there and they can have a new vision. And that team's going to be super stacked.
Yeah, I think
it's going to be sick. It's going to be way more fun to watch than the Sharks.
Yes. I think Eklund makes opening night roster, but I think everybody else, I think it's going to be
there's just no room.
Mm-mm.
Like there's if you go Meyer, Hurdle, Barabanov, right? And then you go Bonino, Couture, LeBanc. Then you've got because you remember you still have Matt Nieto.
The Matt Nieto.
So now you've got like Nieto, Veal, Kunin, Lawrence, Sturm, Lindbaum, Gadjevich, Gregor. Shimolevsky still hanging out. Scott Reedy probably deserves a fair shake after he played.
Yeah, you can still send him
I think the sneaky dark horse would be Brandon Coe making the opening night roster because he's big.
Yeah.
And so if you stick him on the third or fourth line, he's not just going to get destroyed, and he can give you a little bit of touch. But I don't know if that's the right development path. But I think he's the sneaky one to make the roster.
Yeah, there's just a lot of guys that
so many.
There's so many guys. So yeah, I'm
hesitant about what Mike Grier is doing. It'll be interesting to see Dave Quinn's staff. Does he go by Dave or David?
I think David.
It's Dave, right? I think he's Dave, though, isn't it?
I think it's David. We'll find out.
I don't know. You better ask him a question.
I will. I have a question locked and loaded. So yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I'm just hesitant with where the Sharks are going in the short term with their influx of highly fourth line oriented forward influx and Dave Quinn's hiring. So, and I mean, like Doug Waite hasn't really been great shakes as in his time. So it's not like they brought in Brendan Pridham from Toronto as the assistant GM. They brought in Doug Waite. And I mean, Tim Burke and Joe Will are still there. So it's like, I'm a little hesitant. The games are going to be very boring. They're not going to be exciting. Like I just don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I don't know if you want to watch a line of Veal, Lawrence, Gadjevich, but like Kunin. That might be a third line at some point.
Yeah. It's going to be a long season. At least we have the Cuda. Really quick before we get out of here, your thoughts on the Brent Burns trade?
Loved it. Loved it. I mean, so this is the thing is that Brent Burns was a good Shark for a long time. The problem with Brent Burns is that his defense got so bad that his offense couldn't cover for it anymore as he got older, which just happens. I'm not begrudging Brent Burns. Brent Burns also liked to play Brent Burns hockey. He is one of the most physically gifted athletes in the NHL. His hockey IQ is not on that same level. He would oftentimes take the fadeaway wrist shots into dudes' shin pads. We used to make the joke Brent Burns hasn't seen a one-timer he didn't love. Like, yeah, there is tons of that with Brent Burns, but when he was winning Nori and finishing second and stuff like that, he's putting up 80 points in the season. Like, it worked. It didn't matter. And Brent Burns was fun. I had a Brent Burns jersey. I had a Brent Burns bobblehead too, actually. Somebody gave it to me. Like, I didn't hate Brent Burns for any reason. I just, from a hockey standpoint, it was getting tough with his play. And he signed for what, 3 more years?
3 more years. So yeah. And yeah, so he's on the book for the Sharks for 3 years. I think like $2.7 million for the next 3 years.
Which is again, this is why like he's on the books for 2.73 million. Why do you need Matt Benning for 1.2? But anyway, I think they did well to trade enough of his contract that they got $6 million in space, right? Roughly.
Yep.
5 point whatever, they got that in space. Lawrence.
It's fine.
Lawrence would have been more interesting if they didn't sign 100 more Lawrences.
Yeah.
But like he's fine. Makaniemi.
I like McAniemi. I think from what I've read and what I've had him, I think I think him and Strauss-Mann as your kind of 1-2, and then Aaron Dell as like the break in case of emergency, so that we don't have to trade for a goalie midseason like they did last year. But yeah,
exactly. If McAniemi works out into something, great, because he was really good with Chicago. Before
he had like a 924 save percentage or something like that. It was insane.
Yeah, it's a good dart throw, especially on a trade where you weren't necessarily the winner of the trade was cap space, but the winner for the Sharks was cap space, right?
Yeah,
which they got like $5 to $6 million of it. So that's what they were going for. Did they also get a third?
They did get a third. It's the worst between the Flyers and the Carolina, so it's going to be the Hurricanes.
It's going to be the Hurricanes. So like another dart throw at the third, a dart throw with McAniemi. You can't really have too many goalie prospects. I think Gaudreau still is going to be the guy you'd want to tab, but now they have McAniemi, Kakkonen, Hill technically, Gaudreau, Bo Pitt, and Big Chungus. What's his name? Magnus Krona.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Krona.
Right? I always forget about Krona.
You can't never forget about Krona. So like there's lots to like in that, and I think they did well to. Who'd they ship off to? Didn't they ship a prospect away too?
Lane Peterson, our favorite.
Oh, Lane,
favorite PP2 specialist.
Oh, at least Dave Quinn doesn't have that toy to play with.
You're keeping him from himself right there by shipping off Lane Peterson.
Yeah, the old Adam Burrish. You can't stop playing Adam Burrish. Todd McCullough, fine. I'm putting him on waivers.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Burns trade was from where the Sharks were coming from. He was the most movable asset, obviously.
Yep.
I think they did well to do what they did. And Brent Burns gets to go play in Carolina, where he has potential to win a cup, because Carolina's pretty good.
Yeah, so, and they like point shots, and Brent Burns can shoot.
They love point shots. Oh my god! So I didn't mind it at all. It was much better than the Luke Kunin trade.
Kyle,
the Luke Kunin trade was insane because they gave up a third.
That's what drives me crazy, is like giving up the third. If it was like John Leonard for Luke Kunin, like John Leonard and I don't know, some other random like John Leonard and Lane Peterson for Luke Kunin. Fine.
Why didn't they just give up John Leonard?
Or just John Leonard,
John Leonard for Luke Kunin. Here you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The third is what kills me. I hope people bring the same energy to the Luke Kunin trade next offseason, when like, why don't we have a third round pick like that they did with the Aiden Hill trade this season, when it's like, why don't we have a second round pick? It's like, yeah, I hope it's the same.
I don't know. Right. I don't know what they're going to do with their goalies. Reimer has the most value.
Reimer has the most value.
Reimer should have been traded at the draft.
Yes.
Like,
or he should have traded at the deadline.
Was desperate. Toronto had no goalies. Literally zero.
I have no idea.
Who do they have now? They have some random tandem.
Yeah. The Sharks were like, hey, I like what the Niners are doing with Jimmy G. We want to do that too, but with our goalies. Just hang on to them.
I understand that Aiden Hill probably has no value. Aiden Hill actually probably has the most value at Arizona, because he came from the system and they didn't want to get rid of him. It was expansion draft purposes.
Just trade him back.
Just trade him back. Yeah. And he's young enough and coming up where he could be your goalie in like 3 or 4 years with the team when it's finally like
Cornish doing.
I think he went back to Sweden or something like that.
Probably, yeah. So.
I don't think he's in the league anymore, or Russia, or wherever he's from, Czech Republic. But like Kakkonen is the one you're going to want to keep.
Yeah.
Obviously they signed him to that deal. All their goalies also make like the same amount.
It's great.
They're all within a couple $100,000 of each other, just real like communists, like everybody's equal. Let's see which one can rise above the heap. It's like when the Joker, the Dark Knight, snaps the pool cue in two and says fight it out. It's just basically what Mike Grier did to the 3 goalies.
Well, that's what they're doing, the 3-on-3 goalie battles for at development camp, to figure out which one's the best one. So
yeah, I think they'll start with. Yeah, I don't know how you carry 3 goalies with no cap.
You can't, especially when you have 1,000 third and fourth liners on forwards on your team that you can't send down. So yeah.
That's the problem, right? Is that they're getting stuck with all these guys on the squadron. I don't know. It'll be interesting. They've got I think like Šimek, LeBanc, one of the goalies that have to be coming down the pipe. But like I said, like I will believe the LeBanc trade when it actually happens. I'm not buying into the LeBanc is getting traded, or LeBanc might be getting traded tomorrow. Remember at the draft? Was it the draft?
Yeah.
That people were like, "Oh, LeBanc is gonna be on his move." It's like, no, he's not. He's been on the move for 3 years now. He's not moving anywhere. He's just stuck. So
we'll see what happens at a training camp when people get their guys in. They realize, oh, maybe this guy isn't quite ready. That's probably your best bet to move one of those guys, but we'll see.
Spin the wheel of who starts on IR.
Yeah. So, all right, Kyle.
Bronchitis. Go to IR.
Kyle, you've said it all. Where can the people find you? Even though you're no longer very much into hockey Twitter as much, but where can the people find you?
I unfollowed so many people from hockey Twitter that I just
I was very heartbroken when you stopped following me.
Imagine. I've unfollowed so many people that I followed for either professional courtesy or just like because they're in the hockey world that needed to be followed. But like, yeah, I just don't care what like the beat reporter for the Wild is saying anymore. I'll just get that through retweets these days. Actually, Michael Russo's probably one to follow. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Nashville reporters, I don't care anymore. I don't. Yeah, Kyle Demetrius, the same where I've been. I'm almost at 1,000 followers slowly. A couple porn bots have followed me over the last like week or so. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I have been noticing a lot more of the bots. The bots have been kind of back recently. So
yeah, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and I'm at 960. So that'll be fun. I'm sure once my favorite event, Dev Camp, opens.
We've already gone to
the rookie tournament. The rookie tournament. Yes. I'm sure once that opens, I'll wade back into the Twitter pool a little bit. But like, yeah, I'll still follow it because the games are on. The games are on at 7 Pacific. That means they're
on like right now. Yeah, it's like right now.
Yeah, it'd be on like right now. So like if I'm working from home or whatever, I can always find it. So it won't be the end of the world. We'll still keep track. We'll be watching 0 Barracuda games for the 32nd year in a row.
This is the year to finally get in.
Yeah, I know. I should really try. But the feed is so bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have new cameras.
They got the new arena. So the feed's a lot better. So
what is it, like TCU Arena or something?
Something like that. Yeah. So I'm having Nick Nollenberg on here soon. So
I know. I still get the emails.
I know, which I'm just talking about that.
I'm keeping them forever. I'm just gonna change the passwords. So you can't get in. Yeah. No. I'll still be around.
Yep.
I'll just tweet at people.
Good. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Listen wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey. Please leave a 5-star review on Apple. Subscribe on YouTube. We're over 1,200 subscribers, so let's keep it going, baby. And then follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Be back tomorrow. We're gonna break down whatever David Quinn or Dave Quinn, we'll find out, says at his opening press conference, and then I have Daniel Gee going to be coming on to kind of do a Michael Fisher profile on the Sharks defensive prospect who looks like he might be a lot of fun. So that'll be coming out at the end later this week. So yeah, bye, friends.
None of those names are real.
Nope.